Hi everyone, welcome to MartechBrain, a netcore initiative where we talk to some of the best brains in MarTech and in the tech space and delve deep into one topic. My guest today is Tapan Barman, co-founder of mihup. Tapan's chosen topic for our conversation today is conversational AI, reimagining the human-machine interface, so human-machine communications. So welcome to MartechBrain, Tapan.
Thanks, Rajesh. Thanks you so much for inviting me. It's an honor and a privilege to be part of this show. Thank you so much.
Great. So tell us first more about mihup. What does it do, and then we'll get to the wider topic linked with that.
Sure. So mihup is first of all it's a may I help you please. I mean if you consider the full name of the company. And we considered mihup as a journey which you have started in 2016, and with an aim to build a company, right, to create greater impact for the society with some cool technology. So in the mihup, what we are doing, we are sort of building voice AI platform, and we help enterprise developers to add voice interface for any device or applications. So that's how it works. And so we are initially raised seed investment from the Axel Partners 2016, and Subrato from Axel wrote the first check to us. And I am the co-founder, and so I do have Biplab and Sandeepan Chattopadhyay who are the co-founder of this company. So we are about 50 plus sort of missionary team operating from Kolkata and Bangalore, and so that's about the company. Yeah.
So what are the problems that mihup actually solves for companies?
So look, so when you are saying the voice AI platform, right? So you look at the problem. Imagine you are calling a call center, right? And you're sort of navigating through a complex menu tree. Like for this you press one, for this you press two. Now we are helping to remove the entire complex menu tree so that user can directly talk to a system or the machine, where machine can sort of answer most of the queries, where complex queries can be routed to human agents, right? So that's the kind of problem we are trying to solve with the call center. And also, when you're calling any call center, your call can be recorded for quality and training purposes. But manual QA team hardly can analyze 1 to 2% of the calls, right? So we are also helping enterprise to sort of analyzing 100% of the interactions to get all kind of insights, which is sort of helping them to improve sales, collection, and everything. So that is one part of the problem which we are trying to solve with the help of mihup. And on the other side, also we are also building a virtual agent on the top of the platform for different kind of IoT applications. Say for example, smart car, right? So we have recently deployed our virtual agent with Tata Motors, right? They are using that virtual agent in their cars so that user can control everything inside the car just by talking. So that's the kind of problem areas where we are trying to building applications and trying to solve that problem.
So in a way, what you're basically saying is that for all of us, speaking is the most natural interface rather than touching, clicking, and everything else that we've been doing all these years. And you're taking us back to the origins, as it were, how we would communicate. We are now communicating that way with machines.
Absolutely. The way we sort of come, you take the example of India, where 90% of the population, they don't speak in English, right? And most of the application or device, if you see the interface, is pretty complicated. It's not pretty user friendly, right? So what we have found, most of the person, they are comfortable to speak their own native language rather than typing in the keyboards, right? That's why I think voice interface is the most intuitive, which can help user to express their interest and desire in a more effective way. So that's where is going to be the change in the next era, where we'll see a lot of voice first devices happening in the market. So I think these are the areas where voice can take a key role, sort of transforming the way we are sort of working with those digital devices.
In fact, we've already seen in the last few years the rising popularity of devices like Alexa.
Yeah,
Um, and now with smart TVs, you
yeah,
have the remotes where you can actually speak. Anyone who has tried to type using the
correct,
TV remote, search terms, etc., is very, very painful. So voice becomes the natural way. And even in car navigation systems, the
correct,
example you talked about Tata Motors, just speaking, so put the AC on,
right.
or play this, or switch to this music station,
Yeah.
etc., now becomes so much simpler rather than trying to navigate through the dashboards.
And also, yeah, I mean, those are absolutely, some of the important and relevant use cases which is happening around us. And also, I think, if you look at from the perspective of of a farmer who just wants to understand which is season is appropriate for, say, A, B, C sort of cultivation, right? So how we can get a sort of best help from some point, and with the help of machines, because it's very hard to sort of helping those in that scale of farmers with that kind of information, right? In there, the this kind of virtual agent can be much more effective. And also think of virtual agent. Imagine a virtual agent in a bank where you don't have to travel to a branch just to inquire about the basic information, the way the Jandan account holders are doing today in India, in remote areas. So we actually can sort of enable them and empower them to equip the all kind of information they want to this kind of applications which can run over a IVR system or the call center. So I mean the numerous use cases possible, and ultimately it will help large set of people to empower them to get much more, or getting much more confidence and information about the entire thing. So that's where I think the change will happen in the coming days.
So, Tapan, why is it taking off now? So, I think if we take the area of conversational AI, so what are the sort of building blocks
Mm-hmm.
which have which are helping conversational AI really rise to the
Mm-hmm.
forefront in this? And and I also want to then take up this element of, we've talked about the conversation part, and we also want to discuss then the AI part. Where does the AI come into the whole system?
Correct. So, Rajesh, I mean, in conversation also, we considered conversation in four different categories, right? It can be, human to machine to machine to human, and human to human, right? So these are four type of, conversation which happen. And what is AI? AI is basically, you train a machine or say computer with certain knowledge, right, with certain data, which actually can help a machine or system to sort of drive a conversation, or drives or sort of drive certain instructions. That is called artificial intelligence. Say for example, uh, you are a call center agent, and you are actually talking to a customer. Now, imagine while you are talking to a customer, you are getting some sort of guidance from the system itself, where the system is telling you we are going fast, you speak slow, right? You are talking nonsense. You should talk in the right way. So that kind of instructions of the help can come from the machines when the machine is artificially intelligent with some preloaded data. Now, how we get those data? Data actually get from the users. I mean, users, the way we talk, and the way we communicate. So all kind of user behavioral data is actually we are using to sort of train machines, and we are using the best to train machines to sort of train the worst at the bottom. So that's how the artificial intelligence work. Now, why it is taking off right now? Because there are so many important things are happening. First of all, I think the most important piece is if you have to train a system with we call it machine learning. So you have to train your machine with more data, right? It requires lots of compute. And earlier it was very, very expensive. You see the, the share market price of the Nvidia, which is now, going up very much, right? So that itself proof that Nvidia as a company, they are doing pretty well, and the devices they're sort of, producing, which we use for this computation, is actually available at, some reasonable cost. So compute cost is available at reasonable price. That's what, sort of, driving this a lot of, machine learning activities, across the world. And in this domain, not just the voice, multiple activities are happening. So I would say the compute cost is lower. And second is, now we are at a point where we are sitting with a lot of data. I mean, enough data, right? Which is like unused data. So now the enterprise, the companies, or I would say the researchers, the developers, they are trying to, find out how much insights, and how much insights we can get from those data, and what's the best way to do that, right? And it is for, to get next set of a customer. Say for example, Flipkart won customers from tier 2, tier 3, repeatable customers, not just the first time customer, right? How it is possible? Second, say for example, I just, want to improve, customer services, or I want to know my customer profile in much better way. How it is possible, right? Third, say for example, I live in a city where my nearest CT scan, system or the facility is available, is far away for 50 kilometers, right? Is it possible to sort of, get a CT scan uh, system or facility here in my town? And since I don't have, trained operator to sort of, maintain that, can you use that with AI? So these kind of requirements actually are driving those factors in this space.
So Tapan, how did you get interested into this area? Tell us a little about your background and uh, how did this whole conversational AI sort of get to the forefront in your life?
So I would say, my background is, I come from a very, 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 I would say, village. It's very, tier 3 cities, I would say. And it's very close to Assam and Bangladesh border. And my native is Rajbongsi language. I speak, my native is Rajbongsi. It is not even Bengali, not in English, right? And it is not even, part of this 22 schedule language of India. But, there are 3 million people who speaks in Rajbongsi, right? So for me, I feel, language is sort of a, speaking English is sort of a barrier for me, was a barrier for me. I've learned, speaking English to, to get into in my profession, right? So and I also believe, if you don't speak, if you don't have the opportunity to speak your own native language, you lack so confidence, right? So that's why, I mean, I was always interested, about to how can solve this problem. Initially, maybe, some sort of translator engine. I'll speak in, Bengali and to get translated in English. It is relevant for multiple language, right? And background wise, I have graduated, in computer science in 2006, and I was working in public sector company for 2 years, and sort of started my own company in 2008, but was doing reselling business or the IT consulting business in the company, but always, wanted to build this application to solve this problem. And finally, I got the opportunity in 2014, where I got introduced to Sandipan, the CTO of Justal, and who was having 10 years experience of building or working with the voice. Okay, and also thankfully Biplab. And finally, we get into this, problem space, and started, building those applications around the problem. So that's how we got started and got attracted in this problem.
A fascinating story, and I think this problem that you talked about of using breaking the language barrier for communication, I think is very, very critical, especially in India, where we have so many different languages and even variations in those languages. I'm assuming one of the things that you have to do when you're training the AI system is, of course, you need a lot of data, but you also need to train it in the domain understanding.
Correct. Yes.
um, and so in a car, so it's not an open-ended problem.
Absolutely.
And that is, I think, very important, where mihup plays a role, right?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I think, it is relevant. Say, for example, when you're talking to a person, right? And we sort of talk in a particular topic or context. And if you can, if you can follow that conversation, he hardly, remembers the 200 words in that entire conversation, which was very, very useful, right? So we also believe, since this is machine learning in the AI, right, and which get improved with enough data, and the more you use AI, it will get improved. That's how it works, right? So I think so you always debate about the accuracy, or about the AI system, or this particular system. So we always told, it has to be accurate within the context. Is it accurate enough for that particular context? The system need not to understand everything, right? I mean, it is not even required. So that's why I think, I think if we want to solve this problem, so we have to pick the problem or the context, and then we should try to attend or try to solve the problem, right? Rather than solving the problem for anything, which doesn't make any sense for us. So whenever you're trying to, our approach, to build the solution of the platform is that use case is the primary. You focus on the use case and what problem you're trying to solve with the help of this particular, the AI or the conventional thing, and then you try to build the model accordingly. Then it will work perfectly for that use case. Yeah.
And like, if we go back to the Tata Motors example, uh, are you also then confident that even if the languages spoken are different, you can handle those scenarios? Or is it limited to, say, only English or Hindi? Or, I mean, I'm assuming there's a translation part of it, which is also involved before we feed it to the AI engine.
Correct. No. So absolutely, we are confident. So far we have rolled out 4 language. We support Hindi, English, Tamil and Bengali, and we are also rolling out another 6 language. So we do have a plan to support 10 language by mid of next year, and we are also doing not just only for the Tata PV cars, the private vehicles, but also for the commercial trucks where the user is not very sophisticated. I mean, if you can imagine that, right? And the dialects and accent could be hugely different. Now the way we have sort of build the platform, and we have the way we have trained it, it is capable to understand multiple dialect and accents within that context. Okay. And that's why we don't focus on the text output of the voice. We generally focus on meaning, so we call it speech to meaning engine, right? Where from the from the dialect itself, can I get actual intent uh, from that part. So that's why I think since we focus on the speech to meaning part, that's why handling multiple language within the context is not a challenge. But again, as I said, I mean, AI can be improved with more learning and more data. That's why we do have a sort of feedback loop in place in the entire system, where we sort of collect those data through an mobile companion app, which goes to cloud and come back with the improved version. That's how it works. But generally the entire system works in that in the car or the trucks is without internet, so you don't need connectivity.
Right. So, in a way, the power of this really is that if we look ahead few years, this whole human machine interface, okay, where we'll be able to speak to the gadgets in our homes, to the devices that we have, to possibly the air conditioning units, the TVs, the washing machines, the refrigerator in house. So all of these devices, which are becoming more and more complex because there's a lot more digital elements which are coming into these devices. And what's also therefore changing is the way we communicate. So rather than going through keypads and layers of interfaces, we can just speak and get the job done, right? That's
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, so I mean, the entire, I think the user interface will get through a transformation, and it will be like, voice first device. So in the future, there'll be, sort of no key. I mean, recently, Apple, they have sort of launched a prototype of that kind of future device, and where there is no keyboard. It's just a voice with Siri. So that you can sort of operate the entire machine with the voice. So that kind of future we can expect from the domain. Yeah. But I think in India, I still believe, though the Alexa, I mean, of course, I mean, bringing new trends. I mean, they have sort of created new opportunity for a lot of companies. But for India, Alexa is still not relevant. I believe because most of the Indians, they live in 700 square feet of house, right? Where Alexa is much more bigger, right? I think from the Indian context and the perspective, we are still left to instill a lot of confidence to Indians, right? So that they can effectively use the mobile phones at least, right, in proper way, and they have to believe, right, with the help of the tool, which is very powerful, right? Smartphones or maybe the normal phones, right? They can do a lot of things. I think that's where the confidence is not there because I think most of them think this is something not for me. So that fear has to go first, so that they should get connected to the digital ecosystem which you're building, right? And in that digital platform, the health, everything is connected. So I think that's why I think that transformation has to happen in the mindset first in
right.
India, and the devices. I think for India, different kind of devices required, not the Alexa. Yeah.
Correct. So one question really on how marketers can leverage this sort of revolution that's coming in conversational AI. How can marketers make use of this technology?
Oh, many multiple ways. I mean, marketers can effectively use this particular application in several ways. I can give you a couple of example, and where we have sort of helped multiple companies in our own way. So, say for example, so we are working with edutech company, right? And the edutech company, they are trying to sort of onboard new students, right? For their on their platform. Now they want to analyze the counselor performance when the counselor is counseling a students, right? Whether the counseling was appropriate or not, how effective it was, right? So because that's happening in scale, and human can't really assess each of those counseling session. Now they are using AI platform where we are sort of analyzing all the counselings happening every day, and we are giving recommendations to individuals, to team, or to the companies, right, where they needs to improve. So what's the best practice? What is the thumb rule? What are the best performers doing? How we can sort of clone that best for the bottom. So this is one of the example. You can also use. We're also working with insurance company, right? They are using this platform to improve their sales because they are saying, look, I do have 2,000 callers every day. They are calling customers, right? But my conversion is very low. So how you can help me? So we are analyzing those entire calls, and we are telling, look, this 10 salesperson is your best, and how they are, because this is their pitch. That's how they're talking to their customers, right? And this script has to be used, and we are using that script to train the system or the machine, and the machine generates feedbacks, for the rest of the
Or the
agents.
other agents. Excellent.
So that's how, sort of, marketers are getting, benefits out of this product, yeah, or the system.
So, looking at the broader impact of this on society, Tapan, what do you see as the impact? If you look ahead, what's the impact of conversational AI really on society in general?
Yeah, I think, I strongly believe, as I, mentioned, I mean, I think, change in the mindset. I mean, I think, I can give you a lot of examples, still, in our society, especially in India, we consider, any computer or the devices, the machines, is an evil factor,
Right.
right? And because of, lack of, education or the literacy of, I think that about multiple things, right? We still, we still consider, is not great to be in the social media platform, right? Because that is something is not allowed in our society, in some areas. And as I said, we still fear the machines. We have, lot of pupils, they don't know how to use ATM machines still today, right? So I think fear of machines is something, is the biggest factor, of which is, driving our, lack of confidence to us. I think, if we want to transform or change your society, your, I think the entire citizen has to be empowered, right? And we'll have to instill a lot of confidence, and the entire citizen has to become smart enough, so that they can take better and informed decision. And that is only possible when you empower them with a tool which is very easy to use, and which is, with that tool they can actually literally can access to anything. And that's where voice can play, very very effective role.
And that, I presume, would be mihup's vision also.
Absolutely. I mean, we just want to be the, trusted, factor, like, as I said, Tolby. I mean, mihup, we want to be the one of the trusted factor for everyone, and they should think of mihup while they're using, voice to access anything. I mean, any machines or the applications or anything. That's what our aspiration is. Yeah.
I think it's a great view into the future. I think basically, if I were to summarize two or three of the key points that you're saying, is that we are going to see the rise of conversational interfaces where we'll be able to communicate by just speaking to devices. The human and machine interface will keep improving. The more
Yes.
the data that is there, the better the interface can be. And even in the example that you gave in call centers or in conversations,
Yes.
you can actually now remove the inefficiencies and the differences which are there between, say, salespeople. You
Correct.
can learn from the best, and the others can be trained and even guided, possibly in real time, in conversations that are taking place.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think we are opening up a whole new fascinating world
Yeah.
of conversational AI. So that was wonderful introduction to the area, Tapan.
Thank
And
you.
we will come to the last part, the fun part, the 5 1s. So quick,
Okay.
sort of short answers.
Sure.
One future tech trend that excites you, and other than, of course, conversational AI.
Okay, so I think, other than I was, thinking, other than conversational AI, today, I mean, I sort of, fond of two things, and I'm truly excited, about the potential. One is, of course, the way we are leveraging internet for the education. And so mihup is working with with multiple edutech companies, and I can see, I mean, today, from a place where is probably there is no good teacher may be available, good in the sense of, in the context of getting better, education foundation. I can think of, accessing a teacher based out of UK, right, for the education of my child. I think, that is something, is fascinating. Um, and it's going to be happen crazily. I think it's good for the company, for the country and the society.
Yes.
And second, the fascinating thing, I think on the healthcare side, I think the way we are sort of thinking of transforming the entire treatment. So I follow Siddhartha Mukherjee, and he talks about I mean re-engineering cells. I mean how we can sort of re-engineering the genes and cells, right? I mean instead of using pills. I mean that kind of I think innovation is truly fascinating and really change the way we are thinking about the treatment in the future.
Great insights there. One tech or trend that has disappointed you?
I would say the trend. I mean, the way we today we sort of use social media platform to influence decisions of individuals. I think that is not correct. And I was in recently if you have saw the advertisement of the Whitehead Junior. I mean the way they are sort of advertising. If you learn this code, you'll get a job in Google. I mean, that kind of advertisement, that kind of influencing is very, very bad. And that trend has to be stopped. Yeah.
Very good point. One good book recommendation.
So, I mean, I think, great book is 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. I mean, I have learned a lot from that book. Yeah, so I'd recommend everyone who is, thinking of starting a company can read that book. Yeah.
And one good person podcast to follow?
I would name actually, 2% probably again. Uh, I follow Elon Musk, very closely because he talks about impossible things and make them possible. That is, truly inspiring. And again, the Siddhartha Mukherjee, I mean, the way sort of, innovating the entire healthcare, I would say the thinking at least. Yeah.
Absolutely. Both, I think, amazing visionaries.
Right. Yes.
And final question, one key driving belief in your life?
Look, I always believe in one quote from Swami Vivekananda. That was a gift from my mother when I was in class 5. The book is called Power Capsules. Okay, and there is a quote which says, the success is equal to purity plus passions plus perseverance. I mean, I truly believe in that. And I have seen a lot of people in my family and the colleagues and everything. If you truly stand for those three things, you'll be successful. And in life, success is something in the changing post, right? I mean, it's nothing fixed. So those three factors has to be there for any sort of achievement. Yeah.
Great suggestions, Tapan. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful conversation with you. I think a good look at the future, the world of conversational AI. I think we are just seeing the starting point of how the power of the internet and AI and technology, with the falling costs of computing, of storage, all of that is now coming together to really open up new opportunities going forward, especially in the human and machine interface. Thank you very much for the great chat with you, Tapan.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you everyone for watching, for listening. We'll be back with another edition of MartechBrain next week.